Welcome to my channel about concrete as a hobby, decorative concrete applications, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this pot right here with all these really cool leaf designs on it. Some different colors. There's a concrete sealer applied here. I'll show you the whole thing step by step so you're not left with any questions at all. But this is a pretty fun project. If you're new into concrete as a hobby or thinking about like what could I make which would be pretty fun, I think this would be a really good video to check out. In this video, we're going to be making a medium-size planter pot here, and I want to use I made some leaf castings. I took real leaves and I made silicone castings of them, and I like to use those to make the finished texture on the outside of this plant pot that we're making. So to bring you up to speed here, this is just a large empty plant pot. I wrapped it in saran wrap, plastic wrap, and then just put a layer of duct tape around the rim here just to kind of give it should be easier to demold like this versus if I didn't use the plastic wrap. And the duct tape is just to kind of form an edge a little bit because there's a plastic edge and I don't want to see that embedded in the finished product once we've flipped it over. I do want to add two tiny little screws here because this is so light it's going to be moving around too much. So I'm just going to very carefully cover that up. The mix design we're going to be using here, 2 parts masonry sand, 1 part Portland cement, type normal or type general use Portland cement. And then we're going to apply it fairly thick, and by fairly thick I mean more than 1 inch thick. And in doing so, because of the shape of this, we don't really need to add any reinforcement. I mean, we could add some steel reinforcement, and sometimes I elect to add some, I'm on the fly and I'm not liking how it's going, I might elect to do that. But normally if I'm going to go thicker, and especially if I'm going in some sort of shape where it's going to enhance the strength due to the shape of it, then I don't mind going without a reinforcement within the concrete itself. So it's kind of like dealer's choice on how it is you want to build your things. That's just the way that I go about doing it. On this one, I'm leaning towards no reinforcement and just a 2-part cement or 2-part sand to 1-part cement mixture. I do want to augment the mixture slightly. I'm going to add about 10% of the water that I would use to mix this. I'm going to replace 10% of that water with this liquid acrylic product. It's going to make the mix creamier. It's going to retard the initial set time so it takes longer to set up. It's going to make it stronger as a finished product, and it's going to make it less permeable to water, which will make it'll just last longer. It won't erode so quickly over time. So those are all the things that we're doing to it. Should be a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and get started here. I'll show you the mix here. It's good consistency, and we're just going to try to pile it high here essentially. Honestly, I think I'm just going to go by hands on this one. I just think it'll go so much faster. I don't normally do that, but sometimes. Okay. Rinse off. So we have too much material here, not enough material here, and that's basically just going to be the process here, is cleave some off the bottom and apply it to the top. Okay, so I definitely want to retool this a bunch from here, but at this point, now that I've kind of got it all up, I just want to let it set up a little bit. Give this a little bit of time to set up. Come back, you know, poke at it in half an hour, see if it's getting a little bit more firm where I can start to clean it up and have some reasonable expectation it's going to stay where I've put it versus continue to slump down because of the viscosity of the mix. So I'll see you back shortly. Here we are back. It's, I don't know, an hour, maybe an hour later, and it's definitely getting going here, so I have to get going. Actually, first, before I do that, so these are the leaves that I made. That'll be in another video available on this channel if you wanted to see that process. For now, all I'm going to do is drop my trowel directly into it. That was not part of the plan. Okay, now what I'm going to do is more carefully just kind of use the straight edge of my trowel to, like, you can't really see it probably from your perspective, but there's some lumps and whatnot, and this is a handmade product, and that's fine, but I want to do what I can to kind of just take down a lot of those high spots. Okay, so at this stage, we're going to give it a light mist here. And you can use a sponge float, whatever works. Just make sure it's damp. That's the important thing. Going really well here so far. I think I've got a nice clean base that I'm happy to work with to start the imprinting of the leaves. Let's start with the big guy here. We're going to do a little bit of release agent onto both this and this. Sticky. Didn't work so good. Let's try one of the smaller ones because that one was too sticky. All right, that one's going a little better. Now let's try the little guy here. Darn you. I'm going to leave that because that actually doesn't look too bad, but it's not supposed to do that. That one was really good. Okay, so more pressure is the secret here. So that's what we'll keep doing here as we keep rolling. Nice big spot for one right there. The rubber of my gloves sticks to the silicone, but a little tool like this works pretty well to press that in. Little bit shy on the spot. Let's see if I can just touch that up. I'm going to try the big guy again. Not bad. That's it. I'm calling. Nope, wait, that's not it. Okay. Okay, that's it. That's it. It's done. I'm happy with that. I've got my leaf imprints on there. Looks pretty good. I like the shape of it. I think it went really well. I can't wait to see how this turns out. I mean, it's not perfect. I can see some profiling there that I don't love, but I mean, it's a handmade product. If I wanted it perfect, I would just make forms for it. So I'm happy with how this turned out. We'll let this set up for a couple days, and I guess I will see you back in the future. And here we are back 3 days later. Later than I had intended. It's probably going to be a little challenging to demold the interior from this. I've been keeping the setting product here wet so that it will cure properly. But this is the first opportunity I've had to come out here and deal with this. So just at a glance, I'm very happy with it. It looks great. We've got some cement run and stuff like that. Not a big worry. We'll sand that lightly and that'll get rid of that. But I'm not going to sand it yet. I'm going to let this cure up a little bit more so that I can get a cleaner, smoother sand versus a rougher, pockmarked sand, which you get if you try to sand a very green concrete product, which overall this is 28 days to cure. This is only 3 days old, so we're nowhere near fully cured yet. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I can see that my stamps were done a little bit early. If I had waited a little bit longer, I could have achieved a better, finer stamp. So basically, there is enough texture in the silicone stamps I've made because I can see it. And when I did the initial impressions, I could see that the detail had been transferred. And then just through concrete slump, like the viscosity of a fluid concrete product, it just everything just, it's like a leveling effect, but all of the details being so fine, a little bit of leveling, and now we've lost that detail altogether. And this is akin to how you would do real world stamped concrete. Like, this is decorative. We're just having fun here, making a little plant pot. What if we paid like a ton of money and wanted a stamped concrete driveway or your whole backyard being stamped concrete? You wouldn't stamp it when it was fluid wet like this. You would have waited until it was not hard, but definitely well on its way to that initial stiffening or initial setup process. So much so that when you stamp these horizontal planes, you would put the contractor mats down and you stand right on top of them and you use a stamper or a tamper and you like drive the stamp into the almost set product. And the reason why you do that is it really minimizes that settle effect. So if I had waited longer for this to stiffen up a little more and then did the same process, but probably being a little bit more forceful in terms of actually physically hitting that stamp in. Like, I was using this sponge float, I think, if I remember correctly, to stamp that in. There's other products that, something like this, but without the sponge, just like a hard plastic, that would work well as well, or just your hand. But if I'd waited, I think I could have achieved a little bit better of a texture. Now, of course, you can't see very well from there, so I've taken some pictures so that you can try to appreciate the details with me just a little bit better than you can see them from there. I'd love to bring this over there, but this is heavy, so I can't do that. I've shown you the pictures. I'm going to wet this down now, and then I'll take another round of pictures because that should show the details a little bit more. And I guess I will do that now. I sprayed it all down with water, and you can see it's drying out already because this concrete is thirsty for that moisture. I've been providing it moisture every single day, but despite that, it still just needs that moisture for the curing process. So that's good. We'll be sure to keep that damp. But right now, let's talk about demolding this bad boy. Should just break free. There we go. Flat on one side, rounded profile on the other. I find that this is one of the best tools just to have as a, cleaning up the edges kind of. really want to round that down. Anything that's going to chip or flake off, we want that to come off now is with this, not in the future after we've, you know, finished or painted or sealed it. This top edge here has picked up a little bit of coloration from the wood, from the tannins in the wood, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I intend to sand this top, or more grind the top, with a diamond cup on a variable speed grinder. So for now, I'm just going to leave it as is. In terms of the inside, I do need to get that out. And if you've ever done mold making like this, if you do interior set things like a bucket, like I've done here, they never come out easy. They just never do. And that's the nature of it. Usually you have to mangle the product to get it out of there. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we get lucky. The addition of the plastic wrap around there helps in that it just gives something to slip against. That's what you're trying to do, is just create something with, you know, not much friction, such that I might be able to finagle it out of there. But what I find is that when I make something like this, ideally 24 hours later is when I carefully peel out that inside, because in peeling out the inside, there's going to be very small amounts of concrete that need to break. Like, I'll just give you a random example. So you can kind of see my outside edge here. Probably from there you can see it. But right here, I hit a spot where I just got a little bit of like overflow. Just a tiny little bit of overflow. But it helps you to visualize, like, for this bucket to come out, that little bit of concrete needs to break off. 24 hours old concrete breaks off very readily. Just basically, like, you know, crumbles and falls away. You know, a 3-day-old concrete does not just crumble off and fall away. Even in very small amounts like that, I'm going to have to break that concrete free. So 3-day cure is not ideal for removing one of these insides. I have a feeling like I'm going to have to manhandle this, but we'll see if I don't get lucky here. Enough talking, time to start doing. Also, for what it's worth, I have to be careful these 2 little screws that I have there. That one pulled the screw right through. Here we go. I only had to halfway mangle the bucket. I consider that to be a win. You can kind of see inside there, but not really. Couple little bits of duct tape left here and there, but nothing too serious. Get that all out of there. Pretty good. If I wanted to, let's say, just for argument's sake, that you cared about what the inside of this pot looks like and you want it to be the best version of itself and you're unhappy with texture that you see inside here, I would make a slurry of 1 part Portland cement and 1 part sand. I would add water to that. The amount that you need will depend on how much you're making here, but you're trying to make a slurry. This means a product which you could essentially apply with a paintbrush. Maybe not just liquid thin, but something that you could apply with a paintbrush. That would be ideal. You would clean this, you would rinse it down thoroughly, and while it is damp, you would paint on that slurry product that I talked about. And the end result actually would be, it's even farther, but it's also even heavier. So I can't bring this over there, but that's what that would look like. That's exactly what I did to this product. I'm not going to do that to this one. It just simply doesn't need it because it's going to be filled with dirt anyway. And I'm very happy with how this looks. On the outside, I think that to finish this, I'd like to add some color to the leaves. Make them pop a little bit against the base, the gray cement base here. And to do anything now, though, really, I have to let this sit. Maybe I'm just going to do a very, very light sanding right now. That's it. And then following that, this needs to cure for at least 28 days before I would consider it ready to paint or finish. If you're like, I love it like this, could it be done like this? Totally. Yeah, then you're done. If you like how it looks, you're done. I just want to see a little bit more color in this. So that's why I think I'm going to work on this a little bit in the future and add a little bit of that color, make those leaves pop a little bit more. A little bit of 220 grit sandpaper. All right. I guess we just need to give this a little bit of time. It's also worth noting that I was going to put a hole in the bottom, and I didn't put a hole in the bottom. I totally just forgot about this, and I'm not trying to make like a fountain bowl or anything that holds water, which is, this will. I mean, it won't hold water. It will leak water, but it'll hold it enough to be a problem. So I'm going to have to drill a hole in this. Alrighty. You need a masonry bit. The little kind of arrowhead on the tip there. And specifically what you want to do for something like this is you want to step size it up. Don't just drill the finished size hole unless you have like concrete coring tools and stuff. It's not going to be a clean hole. The entry point will be clean, but the exit point will be blown out. Like it'll break and crumble around the edges. And it's okay. It's on the inside. It's not the end of the world, but it's also not ideal. Alrighty, let's take a look and see how it looks on the inside. Looks great on the outside. Pretty darn good. Okay, you know what? I tell you what. I'm going to bring this thing over there so you can take a look. Whatever, it's not heavy. Oh, I mean, those are just the noises I like making. All right, set this aside, let her set up for another few weeks at least, and then we can look at maybe adding some color. Here we are back a few weeks later. I'm ready to start painting this. I've decided what I want to do is I want to paint the leaves, not the rest of it, basically. And so unfortunately, I thought about two ways that I could approach doing this. One, I could make a stencil out of cardboard for each of the leaves. There's only a couple of them that I used. Quick stencil, cut it out with a sharp knife, and now where I paint, I just kind of put my stencil over, bada bing, I can paint that leaf. And I bet it would work pretty well. I'm going to take the time to use the green tape and outline these leaves. At least I think I will. We'll see how it goes. Both methods would work, I think. One. Whew, this is going to take a bunch. Let's make some paint colors here. All right, I'm out of yellow, so let's make a little bit more of that. How incredibly unsatisfying. I knew there was a reason I kept this 4 square inches of green tape. Good enough. Oh, still an inch left. I better save that. I might need that next time. Okay. Adding some water to the yellow paint. Just needs to be thin enough to pump through an air sprayer. I think so. Okay, next. I want a red, and I have these two, and I'm not happy with either, so we're going to try to make a custom one. Let's start with the yellow first, though. I'm going to give that just a minute, and I think I'm going to hit it with a little bit more yellow, because yellow is kind of like a subtle color, so you got to kind of hit it hard with the yellow to get it to punch. Here we are back, perhaps half an hour later. Good, still in business. Okay, I think that will do it for the yellow. See if I'm able to pour this back in without making a big old mess. Usually not. Let's go ahead and make up a red. This one's nice, it's vibrant, it's just a little too pink. Push a bunch of that in there. This is kind of like a, I don't know, not sure what color this is. It's almost brown, basically. But I'm going like 50-50 on these two colors. And let's see what I get. Okay. Start with the big guy. All right, I think that went very well. Let's go ahead and just add all of this back to this one. I think it looks really good. I could pull this tape right now, but I think it'll pull a little cleaner once I let it dry. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it dry because there's some thicker spots here and there, and I don't want to touch the red on the green or the gray because it'll really stand out. But I think just half an hour. I'll see you back here. I'll pull this tape off of here. This thing's going to look great. I'm really excited about this one. Okay, here we are back. It's definitely all dry now, so let's go ahead and see how this turned out. I'm excited. I think this looks good. Holy heck, green tape. It's definitely a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to peel this tape off of here. I see some bleed through here and there, but overall, I'm quite pleased with what I'm seeing. I love it. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I love it. So, here's something I noticed. Maybe you noticed it, maybe you didn't. So, regardez-vous, right here. Now compare this outside coloration. That's kind of what I'm drawing your attention to, is this red or pink, more pink. But two of the big leaves that are red outside, yellow on the inside, I did kind of like yellow on the inside and then traced it with red. One of them, I decided, you know, I only have two of these. I wanted a third one, so I picked one of the larger full yellow leaves and then I added a red ring to it. And that looks way better than this one here where I just did, you know, the red over top of the gray. It ended up looking a little pink. As I roll this around, this is the one that I did the other way, where it was a full yellow leaf and I added the red. That looks way better. If I were to do this again, all of the ones that I added that multicolor to, for sure I would do it like that. I'm actually not sure what I was thinking in doing it the other way. Whatever, they all look pretty good. So at this point, all we need to do is seal this, and the bottom doesn't need to be sealed. Really, the whole thing doesn't need to be sealed. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to rub that off. But if you wanted maximum color fastness and longevity of the material itself, then a sealer every few years would be a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a sealer to it while it's upside down here, and then flip it over. And then, it's because I don't really care about the bottom edge here, so don't mind it sitting on that bottom edge. But I'll give a half-hearted effort to add a sealer layer here as well, but it's really more about a sealer layer here. Sealer. Don't have a better, like, I mean, this one here is, it's a very similar product. This is a acrylic, water-based concrete sealer. One of many options we could be using. It's the option that I'm going to use. It's what I have. It works really well. I've used it before. Should make the colors pop just a little bit. It's going to add a tiny little bit of gloss to this finish, which is nice. It should darken the color of the concrete. Not a lot, just a little, but enough that it should look nice. In terms of the concrete sealers, there's a lot of options. This is just a water-based one because it's simple and easy to work with. You could use an epoxy-based sealer, and you can get more dramatic looks, like a more of a wet look, like a very dark look to it. That would take like an epoxy sealer. There's also options like PVA polyvinyl acetate, just glue, or like this product here, Weld Bond. There's a lot of different PVA applications. You can take some of that product and either full strength or dilute it down a little bit with water. You can just paint it right on the surface, and it is a non-yellowing sealer, so it will provide a different type of seal to the concrete. It's not a, you know, it doesn't integrally absorb into the surface, but it does apply, it does build on the surface. So one is kind of absorbing in, one is building on the surface. PVA is a great option. So there's a lot of different options, but I'm just going to use an acrylic water-based concrete sealer from a spray. You can brush it on, you can spray it on, you can use airless pump sprayers. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. For a small bench top like this, a little spray bottle from the dollar store is a great thing for applying this sealer because it's not going to last forever. You get a couple of jobs out of it and then the nozzle dies, so you don't want to spend too much on it. I'm going to gear up and we'll get started. And here we have the dried, cured, finished, sealed product. I absolutely love this thing. I think it looks great. I love the way that the colors pop. Good different bit of color there. Pretty happy with how that all turned out. Hopefully you can see that pretty well from there. I'll add some high quality pictures to the end of this so you can see them as well. You can leave it empty like this. There's a hole drilled all the way down to the bottom, I think. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's one there, trust me. You could just fill it with dirt and go with that. You could, remember the form we used? You could get more of those. You could drill some holes into it if it doesn't have it. Use it as a planter itself to facilitate quick change. That actually looks nicer. I mean, this one's broken. We had to break it as part of the process, but I'm really happy with the end result that we've achieved here. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and if you did, please like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you're going to learn a ton about how to work with concrete.